Fun with VO3 and Media Generation by Zivi Mowshowitz. May 28, 2025. Since Claude 4 Opus, things have been refreshingly quiet. Video break. The first good AI videos. First up, we have Prompt Theory, made with VO3, which I am considering the first legitimately good AI-generated video I've seen. It perfectly combining form and function. Makes you think. Here's a variant, to up the stakes a bit, then here is him doing that again. What does it say about the medium, or about us, that these are the first legit videos? This was the second clearly good product. Once again, we see a new form of storytelling emerging, a way to make the most of a series of clips that last a maximum of 8 seconds each. The script and execution are fantastic. I predict that will be the key for making AI videos at the current tech level. You have to have a great script and embrace the style of storytelling that AI can do well. It will be like the new TikTok, except with a higher barrier to entry. At this level, it is fantastic for creatives and creators. Or you can do this. Thread has a bunch more.
Tetraspace. Finally, we made the most beautiful woman in the world saying I love you from the famous QC short story, Don't Do That.
We can talk. Sound is a game changer, and within an 8-second clip, I think we're definitely there with VO3, except for having more fine control and editing tools. What we don't see yet is anyone extending the 8-second clips into 16-second clips, and then more by induction. But it feels like we're only a few months away from that being viable, and then the sky's the limit. Are price cheap? Is VO3 too expensive for personal fun uses?
Near Cayenne. VO3 is far too pricey to use just for personal fun all the time, so the primary high-volume use case will be for bulk YouTube Shorts monetization. This is the first time, I think, and SOTA GenAI model provider also owns the resulting distribution of much of what users will make.
For now, basically yes, once you run through your free credits. It's $21 marginal cost per minute of silent video or $45 with sound, and any given generation might not be what you want. That's not casual use territory. If you can produce a good 2-hour movie for $10,000, let's say you get to use about half the footage, then that's obviously great. But yeah, you gotta be going for real distribution here. I predict that sometime soon, someone will make a good VO3 rules video about the existential situation of the actors involved being AI, where the twist is that the video was made by human actors. I also predict that the cost of making this video will be, shall we say, not small in relative terms.
Hassan Khan. 17 cents per image for OpenAI's GPT-Image-1 model is insanely expensive. How are developers supposed to use this at scale without going broke? OpenAI seriously needs to cut costs and optimize this model. In its current form, it's just not viable for indie developers.
Ryan Hartman, insanely expensive. I tried building on it, and while testing alone has costed $15, not worth.
Insanely expensive? My lord, is this everything is amazing and nobody's happy? You're getting a complete artistic image for 17 cents. Can you imagine you can commission art to your specifications for 17 cents? Hot damn. Compare that to the previous options for an indie game developer. I get that you might want to use a different option now that's cheaper, or that you might want to disable your users from using it if you can't charge. And of course, who is to say the images are any good? But we have a huge bug in our understanding of value. Changing the game. Seb Krier predicts that as AI offers a low-cost alternative way to create content, we will see a further bifurcation into high culture versus low culture, between art made to scale in the market and make big bucks, and art made for self-satisfaction and novelty-driven reasons, and both will improve in quality. I'd add we also should see a third category of highly personalized content that can't scale at all, which seems distinct in many ways from artisan production, and also a split between embrace AI versus make a point of in many or all ways avoiding AI. Seb thinks all this is good, actually. I think it could be, but I'm highly unsure. We should beware the further shattering of the cultural commons for many reasons, and also a lack of sufficient incentives to drive creatives, even if their costs are down. And a lot of this will depend on our ability to use AI or rely on others to do selection. That seems like a highly solvable problem, and we've made great strides in solving it for some areas, but we still struggle a lot, especially with the inability to make the selection mechanism be maximizing user experience rather than work for a platform. Another big issue Gwern raises is that bad money crowds out good is totally a thing.
Gwern. The higher-order effects here are going to be a problem. You could run the same argument about LLMs. If you don't like ChatGPT's creative writing, you don't have to read it. Therefore, everyone is strictly better off for it. In the current landscape, does that seem true? You might defend it on net, but there are obviously lots of places where things have gotten worse, and there are compounding effects. What is the long-run effect on creative writing of all the young people learning to write like ChatGPT rather than themselves?
I think we are definitely better off, at least for now, on both video and text, but yeah, there isn't going to be any getting around it, especially for people who scroll TikTok or Instagram, unless we get good, widely distributed AI filtering.
Seb Kriya. Yes, I don't think it will be without cost for sure. I think we're still in the early days, and I imagine we'll come up with more tools, UIs, customization options, fine-tuned models, ways of teaching writing, and other tricks that could help incentivize diversity. Some degree of homogenization is likely, but I'm not sure it's permanent or the only way things go. Even today, I'm finding it boring and bland when I read ChatGPTs, and it turns me off from the rest of the text sometimes. I assume many will feel that way, and that might incentivize different styles, particularly in domains where individuality matters. But it's true that you might get a lot of slop music and slop art. For those who don't want it, I assume we'll also get better at developing curation tools and communities. Today, even if one doesn't like Spotify Rex, there are so many ways of accessing more interesting music.
Yes, this is true. You can work around Spotify Rex being bad, but in practice it is so much better if the recs that are natural and easy to access are good. Netflix illustrates this even more clearly. Yes, you can, in theory, do a search for anything you want, but who will do that? How they organize your list and recommendations determines, I think, most of what most people watch. Making things interesting. Until VO3, nothing anyone made with AI video was interesting to me as more than a curiosity. Now, we have a few good meta things. Soon, it's going beyond that. Also, in sort of related news, here's a funny thing that happened this week. Anthropic's Long-Term Benefits Trust appoints Reed Hastings, chairman and co-founder of Netflix, to Anthropic's board. That's certainly a heavy hitter. He clearly does worry about AI and has written a $50 million check to prove it. The only worry is that his concerns could be too focused on the mundane. Also, I'd love to see a Netflix-Anthropic partnership, Claude giving me my Netflix recommendations, and having full access to their catalog with subscription when.
This has been an episode of the Don't Worry About the Vase podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast, please visit thezv.substack.com to support the author. If you enjoy having AI-narrated episodes, please note this is a listener-supported podcast. To receive new posts and support the cost of creation, consider becoming a subscriber at dwatvpodcast.substack.com. Thanks for listening.